Well, hello there, and welcome to the first episode of JP Daily Commute. Today we're going to take the Suki from my work here at Westfield High School all the way home in the Energy Corridor in Houston, Texas. I'm going to talk about the bike and, well, give you an honest review while we're doing that. We'll talk about the bike and why I bought it, and see if, if this bike is something you're interested in. Stick around and find out more about it. And there we have Suki, the 2023 GSX-S1000, ready to go home. So, what is this bike? Well, as you can see by its aggressive look and aggressive stance, it is a naked bike, but it's a sporty naked bike. And it is basically, well, it's a very different bike from the 750 that I used to have, because the 750 feels more like a sport bike without the fairings and a little bit detuned. This one feels more like a street bike that has a sport engine on it. So yeah, we'll talk about that while we're riding. So Suki is a 1000 cc or a liter bike, right? Naked bike. And a lot of people would say that it is, well, based on the K5 Suzuki and all that good stuff. But let's not worry about that now. Let's worry about what this bike actually is. As I was explaining, it's not really a sport bike because of the not only the ergonomics, but the way the bike actually feels. The suspension, it's pretty plush, but it's more on the softer side if you're used to riding hard sport bikes. Now this bike does come with a quick shifter that it's awesome, but I usually don't use it from first to second if I'm not hauling ass. I like using it when I'm going a little bit faster, because even though it's a very smooth quick shifter, but first we're going to stop here at the pharmacy before we go home, because I need some supplies, because JP is injured. Okay. Haha, even with gloves on, I could take out the key. Now, some journalists claim that it's a good idea to have a mechanical key. So this is one of the things that we need to talk about these bikes. The 750 had to change the whole ignition system here because the key would just not turn. And on this one, had it for a few months, and I'm already starting to have problems. I had to do the whole lead inside the key thing, which did not work. So I had to put some WD-40 or some regular oil. Man, it's impossible to ride with a bandage. I feel like I have a ball inside my hand. Anyway, back to the bike. So Suki is, as you can see, very easy to maneuver and at slow speeds inside parking lots, and especially here in the United States where you have big parking lots. We really don't have a lot of bike parking lots, but it's fine. You can just park in a regular parking space, easy to maneuver. But you wouldn't have any problem with this bike getting well, finding parking spots, because you can maneuver, and the seat is not too high, so you can put your feet down and push it back if you need. Now this is something that you're going to have to get used to in Houston, is the traffic, which I hate. And this is the problem. Just when you think you're going to be able to go, nope, another car comes, and then another, and then another. It just takes forever to move from one side of the street to the other. You see, you feel like now you're ready. Nope, here comes another one. And another one. So now we're clear on this side. We'll just figure it out on the other side. All right. So here comes a car, but we can maneuver. So while we're riding on this street, which is very bumpy, we can talk about suspension. So the suspension, as I was explaining, on this bike, Suzuki, is well, a lot softer than you would expect, especially coming from the 750. The 750 is a lot sportier. This one feels more like a road bike than a track bike. So this is more for the street. But once you get it into twisties, well, the suspension handles the bumps awesome, and it's just very stable. So the bike is a heavier bike than the competition, but I think that works in its favor when you are on, well, when you're putting it on the side of the tire. When you are just starting the maneuvers, like in slow maneuvers, the bike does feel a little bit heavy, but these wide handlebars, well, let you maneuver the bike no problem. And I think that's the reason why it has these big wide handlebars. All right, we'll talk about the handlebars when we're moving. Okay, we're moving now. So the wide handlebars are the first thing that you notice when you get on this bike from other naked bikes, or especially a sport bike, because I don't know, they feel like beach bars from a cruiser. So that's not something you're used to while riding a sportier bike. The first thing I noticed was that, and I really hated it. I did not enjoy the feeling, and I felt like, you know what, I'm gonna need to change these handlebars. But after a while you get used to them and you understand the reason, right? It's not a design, an aesthetic design, it's more of a functionality thing. The bike is heavy, but with these handlebars, well, you can move it around no problem, and it doesn't take a lot to change directions. So that's why, even though it's a big, heavy, naked bike, you can maneuver it like as if it were a nimbler, smaller, sportier bike. I'm not going to tell you it's as nimble as Trident from Triumph, right, or one of those street rods that Harley came up with, those hideous things, but it is a bike that you can move around. So now when you're sitting on it, you do feel comfortable enough. The seat is not really like a hard, like the Yamaha seats. Suzuki gives a little bit more cushion on its seats, so it's nice. The material, though, it's not the greatest, because once you're riding for more than 2 hours, which is not the case when you're commuting, but if you're riding for more than 2 hours, you are going to feel the seat, I don't know, like the pattern starts getting on your butt. You need to wear like special underwear so that you don't feel like you get stuck on the pattern of the seat, if you understand my meaning. Now the quick shifter is something that I love about this bike. The quick shifter is so smooth, it's so awesome. You can actually feel, I was gonna filter here, but better think twice. And So the quick shifter, you can ride this bike hard, and it's when the quick shifter works better, but that's the same as in every other bike. But in other bikes, when you're going slower, well, the quick shifter doesn't actually do the work, and you have to well, use the clutch, because other quick shifters, even BMWs or Triumphs, which are very premium bikes, they're not as smooth as this one. This is the best quick shifter I've used. And I'm not going to tell you I'm the expert in quick shifters, but I have ridden Kawasaki's, Triumphs, and BMWs with quick shifters that are not as good as this one. Now the engine on this bike, right now I have it on C mode, which usually I don't, but it was raining in the morning, so it has three modes. C, which is rain mode. Here they call it comfortable mode. That's why it's A, B, and C. A is something like aggressive. B is, I don't know. They have names for them, which try to make sense of the A, B, and C. But C, the bike does feel like a slowish bike. It's not a very good feeling. I usually ride it on B mode, and it's very easy to change. All you can do is click on this button here, you stay on it until it starts, until you see this line here, and then when you're not giving it the throttle, you can change it from A, B, or C. I like keeping it in B because A is a little bit too snatchy for my taste, and it's something that I was disappointed when I first rode this bike. When I first got it, I got it because I love the look of it. If you only seen pictures of it, believe me, this is not a photogenic motorcycle. It looks hideous in pictures, but in real life, man, it stands out. It looks awesome, especially in this black. I love it. So when you're riding, when you're riding in A mode, it's just not smooth. And I was disappointed because I thought it was going to be as good as the Katana. When I test rode the Katana, I fell in love with that engine and that power map. Now the Katana doesn't have ride-by-wire, so I was expecting Suzuki to be better and smoother on this one, or at least the same. And unfortunately, it is not. So if I had the $2,000 more for the Katana, I would have gone for that one, because I also love the looks of it. Another bike that you should see it in the flesh, not in pictures. So in A mode it's terrible, so I only use A mode when I'm on the twisties. But for the daily commute, I use B mode. And then it also has 5 levels of traction control. Now the traction control, you use the same button, but instead of staying on the button, you just click once. You see that little line there, and now you can move it. All right, but you have to remove the throttle. You move it. Ooh. I don't know what happened. Okay, let's figure out what we're doing before we crash. We don't want to crash. We have to concentrate on what we're doing. We're riding home to our beautiful families. But I was saying, you click on this button here, and then there it is. You go up, and I like keeping it in 3. Why 3? Well, it's just the middle ground. I've only felt traction control. Now this is the way they drive in Houston, so you have to be very careful. People here, they're crazy, man. But if you keep it in 3, like this other dude, he's trying to cut into my lane. When you're on level traction control level 3, as I've said, I only had the traction control hit once, and it doesn't feel as bad as the 750. The 750, you could feel it. It was very intrusive. On this one, you notice it, especially if you don't notice it. Well, the little blinker light is going to come on. It's going to tell you that the traction control is on. It's working, but you don't feel it as much. It's a lot better than the 750. Other things that this bike improved a lot from the 750 especially, I'm pretty guessing that from other bikes as well, because the Katana doesn't have this as refined. It is the low rev assist. Here you just remove the clutch and the bike keeps going by itself, right? You don't have to give it any gas. So that's a lot of help when you're driving in these conditions where it's very stop and go traffic. You don't have to be using both clutch and gas a lot. So it helps, and that's much better. It's a lot better than what it had on the previous one. On the previous one you could stall the bike. On this one it's basically impossible. One of the things that I do not like, so Houston traffic, this is crazy, right? You have to go and make sure that you're paying attention on the road and on what all the traffic is doing, because, well, it can get pretty sketchy. But that's why you need a bike like this that has some good stopping power, but most importantly, it has, well, the beans to get out of traffic. Let's say this dude doesn't want to let us go in. Well, we are not asking for permission, we are telling, right? We just move and get in his lane, and he's not going to get upset, because people here, well, they're used to that. They're used to having people, you know what, signaling that I'm coming in, just make a little space for myself and get on this lane. Whenever you're riding on the freeway in Houston, you have to find a freeway with the shoulder. 45, which is the one we just left, it's pretty dangerous. It's one of the most dangerous roads in the whole of Texas. Here is the tollway. You have this big shoulder to get you out of trouble, so you have an out every time. But you really don't need a lot of help when you're riding a bike that is, well, this fast. You don't even need to change gears. As you can see, I'm in 6th. I'm doing 80. If I want to get out of trouble with the traffic, all I do is give it a little bit of beans, and it accelerates, gets you out of trouble, no problem, right? Now, if you want to get crazier and faster, of course you can. You just downshift 1 or even 2, but that's not the point of commuting every day. You want to be safe. You want to ride as safe as possible and get home every day to your beautiful family. So another thing that this motorcycle from Suzuki has that I really like, but I liked it better on the 750, is the quick start button. The quick start is just as good as on the 750. All you do is push a button. But the problem here is it is the same button to turn the bike on, right? And what I mean by turning on, it's turning like the ignition on. On the other one, you used one button for one, right, which was this one, and then it had another button that I liked it because you just pushed on that one. Here you have to push this one twice, so it just feels weird. It's not as awesome. Or you can just push it once but hard. I don't know, it's not the same feeling. On the other wood, on the 750, it just felt special, like clicking on that button. So, what other things are good about this bike? So with the engine is awesome. The sound of the engine is awesome. It's not as loud as some people might like, but I don't mind it. Some people say loud pipes save lives. It's never been my case. If somebody is hearing you, I mean, the pipes make the sound backwards. They don't make it the sound to the front. So yeah, nobody's gonna hear you before you get there. So unless you're annoyingly loud, and that's gonna hurt your hearing as well. But I don't know if you can hear it, but I love the sound of this bike. That's another thing that you see, woo, lovely. That's another thing that the 750 had going for it. Smaller cylinders produce a better sound, a higher pitch, more like a Formula 1 car. But this one does make a lovely sound. The inline fours always make a lovely sound. Some people say those bikes are boring, but yeah, those people are stupid. They have no idea what they're talking about. Anyway, so brakes on this bike. Well, they work. They're Brembos, but I guess they're the cheapest Brembos you can find because they don't have a lot of bite. They're very squishy and spongy. And you have to really give it a full hand in order for you to start feeling that they're working. So you don't have that initial bite that you like in sport bikes. No, this is more of a, as I said, it has a street bike feeling to it. It doesn't have a sportier feeling. So, is that a bad thing? Well, it depends on what you like. They're not obviously as good as some premium Brembo Stylemas, and you can feel it. The bike is heavier than most naked bikes, so it takes a lot longer to stop. If I could get the brakes that they have on, let's say, a KTM 1290 Super Duke, well, it all depends. If I'm gonna keep this bike, because you know me, I want to keep all my bikes, but I also want to buy more. And the only way to buy more is to get rid of some. So if this is the bike I'm going to keep, I will change the brakes. It all depends. One of the things that I do not like about this Suzuki GSX-S1000 from 2023 is this old school dash. I mean, all the new TFTs, all the new, even the LCDs dashes, when they started doing that, it's like, why are we so behind the times from cars? They started doing LCD screens in the 80s, and then everybody in the 90s realized that that was terrible, and it was a terrible idea. Nobody likes Casio watches on their bikes, on their cars. So now they move back to, even though they're digital, they're analog looking tachometers and speedometers. I love the tachometer in, let's say, an R6 or the old Triumph Daytona or the Street Triple. Those are beautiful looking tachometers. What the hell is this? I mean, come on, guys. And then Suzuki, there's other manufacturers, well, they're trying to use a TFT to have designs that look like that. Let's see what this bike is. Yeah, Moto Guzzi. A little Moto Guzzi. You don't see those a lot. And they try with their TFTs like BMW or Ducati, they do have the tachometer that is circular. This one is impossible to read. Because of the design, you have no idea. Maybe if it's the only bike you're riding, you're riding too slow. Is that what's happening? Anyway, if this is the only bike you have, maybe you get used to where each RPM is. But trying to locate okay, enough of this. If you're trying to locate where those little numbers are to figure out in which RPM you're riding, it's never going to happen. So, very, very uncomfortable, very dangerous even if you're trying to figure out anything. You want to look at the clock, you want to see what time it is? Well, good luck. That's why I have my RAM mount here, so I can keep my phone, listen to music, and I check the time on that one, because here it's impossible to find. It's down there, right at the bottom. Oh, the wind's killing us. That's another thing about a naked bike. Well, obviously you don't have any wind protection, and with this jacket on, you will get wind stopping you from riding. But as I said, it's a daily commute. That's another thing that we're going to do on these daily commutes is not only talk about about motorcycles. We'll talk about the gear that I've bought over the years. Some of these, some of the gear that I've bought works, some does not, and we'll talk about that. We'll make a whole series of it, not just about motorcycles, because right now I only have 3, and I'm only going to keep 3 motorcycles at a time. But we have plenty of gear that we can talk about to give more content to this channel. So yeah, the dash is something that you need. I mean, Suzuki, please, I beg you. You did a good job on the GSX-S1000 GT. Why not just put that dash on this one? Because that one also has phone connectivity. You don't miss it unless you have it. Now I have it on the Black Pearl on my street light, and obviously it's very good to have the option to just use a little button on your handlebars to change either your radio station, which I don't listen to a lot, but to listen to your music. You can change the volume, change the songs. So take a phone call and you don't have to remove your hands from the handlebars. So it sounds like well, it's an easy thing, right? You can just do this and click on, but no, it's not the same thing. And as I said, you don't miss it unless you have it, and now that I do, I want it on all my bikes. So what about the tires on the GSX-S1000? So the tires, they're this brand. Those tires are very good, especially for the type of riding that I do. For the daily commute, they're good in the wet, but they're even better when you're pushing this motorcycle. Oh, and now it's starting to rain, just as I was mentioning that, right? It's like I called for it. Alright, so what do we do when it starts raining? Well, since it's not too cold today, I don't have to stop and put on my rain gear, which I do have on my little tail bag here. What I do is I just click on my mode button here, and I change. Let me just change. And I change. What am I changing? Oh, this thing. Yes. So let's put it in rain mode. Right. Now it's ready on rain mode, and then we'll also change the traction control. We put it on. The traction control. We put it on. Let's get the hell out of here first. They say only women can concentrate on 2 things at the same time, so I'm a very manly man because I cannot do this. Alright, there it is. We move, and now it's traction control 5, setting 5. So just in case, I don't think you need all that traction control if you are riding in C mode, but just in case. So as you can see, my commute is maybe longer than most people's, but I don't know, I don't mind it. I enjoy riding my bikes every day, even in terrible weather like this. As long as it's not cold, I don't mind a little bit of rain, I don't mind a little bit of wind. When it does get terrible, it's when it's actually raining and cold. And whatever it is, you cannot enjoy that on a bike. It's just one of those things. But riding a motorcycle, even in those conditions, I think is more fun than driving in Houston. So it stopped raining, which is something that happens in this city a lot. You feel it rains, and then it stops raining, and it's like a couple of blocks is going to rain, and it's going to rain really hard. And then when you move a couple of blocks, it's the sun is out. So it's just a weird weather. You can't predict it. So what about the looks? The looks of this motorcycle? Well, they're different, right? So it's not for everybody, and I understand. But if you haven't seen one in person, you cannot go by what you see in the pictures. Now Suzuki does something on its bikes, on its design, that is different from, let's say, Yamaha. A Yamaha bike, like my R7, you can take pictures from most every angle of the bike itself, and it's gonna look awesome. It's gonna look sexy as F. S-A-F, sexy as F, right? Right, it's gonna look sexy as fuck. But put a guy on it, and it depends on what he's wearing. Is he gonna look cool or not? If you're riding to work on your R7 or even an R6 or even an R1, if you're riding to work and you're not wearing full leathers, you're not wearing sport gear, I don't know, you don't look as good. It looks weird. Put all your gear and all your leathers, yeah, it looks awesome. Suzuki designs their bikes in such a way, especially the naked bikes, that they look better with a guy on it, regardless of what he's wearing. That's why I think a lot of people, a lot of squids buy Gixxers, because you can look good on a Gixxer if you're wearing shorts or if you're wearing your flip-flops, your flippy floppies. I don't know. That's maybe what they do. That's why they buy Gixxers, and that's why Gixxers get a bad rap. You can't wear flip-flops on a Yamaha. You can wear them on a Gixxer, and the Gixxer is still gonna look cool, and it's gonna be looking cooler with a person on top than by itself. And they're not very good. They're not very photogenic. You look at pictures of Gixxers, they don't look as cool. But you see one in the flesh, regardless of the year, it's gonna look cool, very cool. So that's what Suzuki does, and that's something that this bike does specifically well, or particularly well. So for example, on this type of maneuver, this is where the quick shifter, I mean, it works, it's smooth, but it's a little bit weird to use it because you need to feather the clutch a little bit if you're riding slow. Anyways, so for commuting, this bike gets a thumbs up because you have this upright ergonomics where you can see the traffic. It's very comfortable, it's fast, and it's a little bit snatchy, but you can put it in B mode, or like we're riding now in C mode, and it's very comfortable. It's fast, it's fun, it's comfortable. You look cool riding it. What else do you need for a daily commuter? So that is it for this episode of JP's Daily Commute. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to comment on what you want to see in the channel. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. Send the video to all your friends if you liked it. If you didn't like it, remember to send it to all your enemies. And I'll see you on the next one.